someone from outer space, surely men would appear infinitely more worthy of admiration than women. For man has intelligence as well as beauty. Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden. I just read the first sentence in the, I don't know, she doesn't number them, 4th or 5th chapter in this book, which I think if I say it, it'll be shadow banned and demonetized. So it is by a woman, Ms. Villar, we will call her. Sometimes we'll call her Esther, but it's this book. S is the chapter, The Fair Sex. Interesting, right? So how true are her words today? Well, so far in this series, we have discovered the woman was right. I'm not sure that I found anything that I can really disagree with. Now, she comes from a very secular point of view, and that's fine. I don't need everything I read about this topic to be in line with my Christian ideals, because I already have them. I can filter this through and see if it fits, and it sure does. So I've perused a bit, and I have found there are some women just on TikTok as we call it here, that sure do prove Ms. Villar's points. So let us continue and see what else we may find. This is a form of literary archaeology, which we do on Sundays, reading grim fairy tales. This is no fairy tale. This is, well, the fairy tales are true too, but this is truth. Published in 1971. So a while ago, but really still in modern history. Let's go. Throughout the centuries, man's standard of values must have become sadly confused. Otherwise, women would have never been called the fair sex. The mere fact that they are so much less intelligent than men is enough to contradict such a conception. For a stupid person can never be thought of as beautiful unless judged on the purely physical level. But it should be emphasized that the fault lies with man himself, who valued women according to standards by which people and animals are on the same level. If he had not done so, women would hardly fit into the group Homo sapiens. Wow. I mean, tell us what you really feel, Esther. Now, okay. Yes, women do think differently. And I would say, yeah, if you're looking at math, science, that sort of intelligence, yeah, that's not us. But that's not really what we're for, right? Here's maybe where we're going to get into sort of what are women and what's our role, and what are men and what is their role, because she has a very secular point of view. So she sees us, it seems like we should be the same, and we're not, therefore women are less than. I would say what's happening right now in society is that women we're not fulfilling our roles and what we're supposed to do, right? Which is have a lot of children, take care of them, school them, nurture them, teach them morals, teach them the Bible, teach them to act according to the standards that our leader of our family, the father, wants. And I know to a lot of women, this just sounds like oppression. It's not, because you get to choose the man and no one's forcing you. But if you want to do marriage and you want to, then anyway. A man needs a woman because, as we shall see, he needs something to which he may subject himself. But at the same time, he must retain his self-respect. This leads him to endow woman with qualities which will justify his subjection. That really explained a lot to me about how men will just continue to serve the woman. And a lot of Christians will say, well, that's because it's how Jesus Christ served the church and that's how we're supposed to be. And it's like, no, because Jesus was in charge of the church, right? But that they leave that part out. The women leave that part out. It's like, well, maybe he serves, provides, protects, whatever, but that he's also in charge of you. That's the trade-off, right? But women are, they're just going to take and take and take. And so why on God's green earth are they just continuously serving, and the man is continuously, he's being submissive to her. They've switched it around. This happens so much with modern day Christians, where the man is just like, okay, honey, happy wife, happy life. My job is to serve you. But it's not, because that would mean she's the master. But this is what Ms. Villar is saying, that's exactly what's going on. It's exactly what's going on. And I totally understand why so many men's rights activists think that Christianity really oppresses men, because this is what they see. This is how they see it. There's no return. There's no point. All it does is make them slaves. And they have a point with the way everything's functioning right now. And it's out of order. As woman has never yet made any attempt to use her wits, he cannot call her intelligent, but he gets close to it by creating the concept of woman's intuition. So, in the absence of any other real qualities, he calls her beautiful. Yeah, well. Aesthetic standards are necessarily subjective, and each aesthetic judgment one makes is an act of personal choice. But subjective easily turns into an excuse, and man is only too pleased to allow himself to become a slave. A man assumes that since woman adorns herself with the obvious intention of drawing all eyes toward her, he must have some reason for her action. She must have some reason for her action. So man finds woman beautiful because she thinks she is beautiful. He finds her beautiful because she thinks she's beautiful. Okay? Indeed, he is very grateful for being allowed to share this opinion. I have to think about that more. But this feminine claim to beauty is also supported by subterfuge, by a trick. Woman's greatest ideal is a life without work or responsibility. Yet, who leads such a life but a child? Interesting you should say that, Ms. Villar. Because, well, here in 2024, we call it soft life. And they do. And they want it. And this is one reason, one way they're coaching other women to get it.
If you want to have a soft life, if you want to lean into that feminine energy and be with a man who does everything for you, you have to become that woman who is able to receive that soft life. But if you're just being aggressive and you complain all the time about the things he doesn't do, all you do is just lean into your masculine energy. In other words, if you want soft, you have to be soft. Let me give you 4 tips to help you get there. Number 1, maybe the most important one, be realistic in your expectations. If your man is a student, he cannot take you out to expensive restaurants every week. Number 2, if you want anything from your man, learn to ask. Don't be passive aggressive and believe that because you've already told him in the past, he should remember. 3, don't make assumptions. Just because you feel bad in that dress and in this moment you're in terrible need of a compliment, don't assume that he understands exactly what you feel at any moment of the day. And the last,
Imagine thinking that these are your responsibilities in life. Also, please take note of the way she's talking. This is not how she speaks in reality. This is just acting, and you'll hear more of this from Ms. Vilar in a moment. Also notice the makeup and the way we're trying to appear. You will also, I can't even do it anymore. You will also hear Ms. Vilar talk more about that in a minute. I mean, she just calls it all. It's all real. It's all happening.
last tip, show appreciation. Ladies, I cannot stress this enough. A man feels loved when you appreciate him. That's all he needs. It is fuel for him to thrive in his masculine energy. He will do much more for you when you learn how to appreciate him. If you want to have a soft,
But are you actually appreciating him, or are you manipulating him? The whole point of this book is to say he's manipulated. If you actually appreciate someone, you don't have to be told to say it or what have you, because you would just appreciate it, right? So this isn't teaching women, that TikTok isn't teaching women to appreciate men. It's teaching them to act like they appreciate him for what it gets them. Hence the title of this book. I'm telling you, I often say on Sunday that the Grimm brothers were shouting to us back from 1812 when they first published their fairy tales. They were shouting into the future warnings. This lady was shouting at everybody right then, but she was shouting into the future right at us. And it's as relevant today, maybe more so. Maybe this is, you guys tell me what you think. Is this book more relevant today than it was in 1971? I think it's more relevant because the women they're just leaning into this more. They're doing this more. They're going to greater lengths. And I'll show you that in a minute too. The lengths they go to. Oh boy. Remember I said pay attention to her makeup, because how old do you think that lady was? I think she's in her, like, approaching 50 actually. I think that things have been pulled up tight and the makeup is thick. But I don't know. You guys are better at telling what the fakery is. Some of you aren't aware of how much they can trick you. Ah, she said, yet who leads such a life but a child? She goes on to say, a child with appealing eyes, a funny little body with dimples and sweet layers of baby fat and clear, taut skin, that darling miniature of an adult. Is it a child that woman imitates? It's easy laugh, it's helplessness, its need for protection. A child must be cared for. It cannot look after itself. And what species does not, by natural instincts, look after its offspring? It must, or the species will die out. So she's saying, like, well, if you as a woman are helpless and then it pulls on his natural instinct to care for her. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in that the woman is weaker. And in a natural environment without all this infrastructure, right, the female would need the male for provision and protection. But Ms. Vilar is very much living in modern society only, having the expectations that the woman should function very much like a man. I personally think we should still be in our roles, but it doesn't mean soft life. I think that was the reason for this whole trope of the 1950s housewife, soft life. Like, no, it needs to be a housewife that has chickens and goats and a garden and multiple children and, cooks things from scratch, keeps everything clean herself. That's not the 1950s housewife. With the aid of skillfully applied cosmetics designed to preserve that precious baby look, with the aid of helpless, appealing babble and exclamations such as ooh and ah to denote astonishment, surprise, and admiration, with inane little bursts of conversation, women have preserved this baby look for as long as possible, so as to make the world continue to believe in the darling, sweet little girl she once was. And she relies on the protective instinct in man to make him take care of her. Certainly does. And boy, are those great lengths to preserve that young, youthful baby look, whatever. They're sure going to extremes today. There is music on this one, so we're going to mute it because I learned my lesson yesterday. You can't have YouTube delete the music or you're going to have all kinds of audio problems and you just can't do that. So it'll be silent, but that's okay because we don't need her music. So you guys brace yourselves. If you have never seen, if you're not aware of what women can do with makeup, your world, you're about to be shaken. So make sure you're sitting down.
Hold up, I ain't with that. That was trying to get his legs back. Pull up, spin back. Pull up, spin back.
Girl. Now let's pause it. Do you notice what Ms. Vilar said is absolutely true? Now, the way women, and I'm one of them, the way we do our makeup, she's right. It is all a youthful look. It's all a youthful look. So it's funny because the whatever podcast, they'll be like, well, are you more attractive now or, in 10 years from now? And they're like, oh, I'll be more attractive when I'm 40. Like, girl, then why do you do your makeup and everything to look younger? Why are you getting Botox? Look at all the Botox these chicks get. What's it for? Get rid of wrinkles, right? And they're getting like fat put in right here because this gets deeper as you age. So they get fat put in right there. They get fat transferred up here even. And they get Botox right here, Botox all here so nobody can move their foreheads. I couldn't imagine that. Like I have to be able to move my face. I didn't like it when, let's not get into the whole mask controversy, but I'll just say that when it's like this, like I smile at people all the time. And I was like I would like smile and I'd make sure my eyes were smiling because I was like, I have to express, but they're just like frozen faces. Why? To look younger. Well, if you're going to look better in 10 years, why do you do stuff to your face look younger? I feel like that just blasts their argument right out. Like we've already seen her. I don't think we need to see any more of you, miss, but don't worry because we've got more. So let's just jump to the next one. Oh, it's bad. This one probably, well, we'll save her for last. Let's check out. Okay, let's look at that other transformation because, again, if you're not sitting down, please sit down because this one is one of the most disturbing ones I've ever seen. It's one of the most disturbing ones I've ever seen. Yep, that's right. Now you'll see highlighter, and see how she's highlighting everything, like to make your cheekbones, to lift everything, just like I said. She's darkening here to make this look small, to make their noses. A lot of you guys, look at that. Oh, let's just see it again, because I hope nobody's eaten recently. Because I want to show you the highlight. Like, I want to show you the other thing about a youthful look. Look at all this highlight. Look at this darkening makes the cheekbones higher. There's the blush. There's the lift, right? And if you see the nose, I've seen a lot of you guys say, oh, she got a nose job. She got a nose job. And I'll be like, no, she's highlighting it. Notice the white strip down here. And later she probably put dark here, but it makes the nose look thinner. And they put like a white dot right here to make it look perky. And that's also a youthful look, is that like upturned nose. It's very, you know? And you'll see after you see her how her nose looks, and you won't be able to unsee it on all the women. You'll be like, why do they all have the same nose? She did put darkening. Ugh. I'm trying to pause it. There she is. See that? See that white tip? See how narrow her nose looks? And she did put darkening right there. That's what makeup can do. See how it's like lifted and it's like a baby face. Whew. I mean, Ms. Vilar, she's spot on, isn't she? She's absolutely spot on. As with everything a woman undertakes on her own initiative, the whole maneuver is as incredible as it is stupid. It is amazing, in fact, that it succeeds. It would appear very short-sighted to encourage such an ideal of beauty. Yeah, it is short-sighted. Because then what do, right? For how can any woman hope to maintain it beyond the age of 25? Well, she wasn't around to see all the Botox and all the rest of it, all the fakery, like the first woman we saw. She's trying to look 25 and she's 45, 50. I don't know. Despite every trick of the cosmetics industry, despite magazine advice against thinking or laughing, both tend to create wrinkles. Her actual age will inevitably show through in the end. And what on earth is a man to do with a grown-up face when he has been manipulated into considering only helpless, appealing little girls to be creatures of beauty? You know, exactly. And I've said this before. Women are very short-sighted in that. Like, they want to be perpetually 25 years old. And you're not going to be. Why do they want to be 25 years old? Well, because that's what gets them the most attention and that's what they're rewarded for. But also, they are rejecting everything that womanhood is actually about. They're rejecting having children. They're rejecting raising those children. They're rejecting being a grandmother. Nobody, remember grandmas, everybody? Like, do you remember grandmas? There used to be grandmas. Now we just have old, like, I don't know, old, just kind of, I'm trying to say it in a YouTube friendly word, but like, you just have a bunch of old 304s, right? Everybody's still trying to look sexy. Like, I'm sorry, have you seen Dolly Parton? Have you guys seen her? She's like 70 whatever. And she's trying to look like a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Like, come on, grandma. Why can't you just be a grandma? Because they reject all of that. They don't value any of that. Ms. Vilar doesn't even value any of that. Well, at least so far. So far, we haven't heard anything of the sort. She just values, like, go and be an engineer. And we can't all be engineers, right? How can we all aspire to that? We need someone to procreate. We need someone to care for those children. And we shouldn't be outsourcing it, right? And if you're busy being an aerospace engineer, who's raising the babies? And who's helping with the grandbaby? Like, family's important, is all I'm saying. Okay, lose my spot yet again. What is a man to do with a woman when the smooth curves have become flabby tires of flesh, the skin slack and pallid, when the childish tones have grown shrill and the laughter sounds like neighing? Well, that happens. Okay. What is to become of this shrew when her face no longer atones for her ceaseless inanities, and when the cries of ooh and ah begin to drive him out of his mind? Yeah, she's right. The mummified child, oh my gosh. This mummified child will never fire a man's erotic fantasy again. One might think her power broken at last. No, but love progresses and it changes. And then he looks at her and loves her because she's the mother of his children. She is his wife. She has served their family. She has taken care of him. She has honored him. And as she ages, he knows that. He values that more. And he sees her through those eyes. Right? When you have shared a life, I've seen older people who've actually lived a more ordered life. I've seen how the man sees that this woman has borne his children and they have grandchildren, and he looks at her and he sees not only the beauty that she had in her youth, but it's more than that. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just starry-eyed, maybe that's what I want to see. But I think at this point in the reading of this, because this is my first time reading this with you guys, like I've never read it before, that's what I think she might be missing. Maybe she doesn't value that either. Maybe not. Maybe we'll get to a point. I'm sure some of you guys, I know a lot of you have read it, so don't spoil the ending. Don't spoil the ending. I want to say one more thing too. That whole childlike thing, it stays because it's not a helpless thing. It's a joyful thing. It's an inquisitive thing. And it's an innocence and a purity. And when you are, and I'm not talking about the teachers of like right now, like today's elementary school teachers, because you notice they get sort of masculine because they're working. But when you're dealing with your own children, you read to them, you teach them, you laugh with them, you retain a lot of that childlike innocence. And you retain your purity, especially when you've brought purity into that relationship to that man. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate you guys. Let's get to 40,000. See, I sound like a YouTuber. I know I don't do that stuff a lot, but my little dog got a little startled when I cleared my throat, and I've told myself when she distracts me, that's when I will remember to ask you guys to please hit that like button. It actually really helps because then YouTube will suggest it to other people, and then more people are learning. And I can't think of anything more that today's men need to hear than this, because sometimes the red pill stuff really turns them off, and they're just, they just put up to it. Especially a lot of the Christian men, but they might be in a marriage where they're feeling this, but they can't quite put their finger on it. So let's hit that like button so that maybe this will reach them, and they'll realize that the predicament they're in is not because of them. Because men tend to want to be accountable for everything, even stuff that they're not doing. So but no, she still manages to get her own way, and for two reasons. The first is obvious. She now has children who enable her to continue feigning helplessness. As for the second, there are simply not enough young women to go around. Wow, this is very sort of nihilistic, isn't it? It is a safe bet that given the choice, man would trade in his grown-up child wife for a younger model. But as the ratio becomes this between the sexes is roughly equal, not every man can have a younger woman. Now, see, I think that's an insult to men, because I actually think that most men wouldn't do that. I think most men want one woman, want that woman to be the mother of their children and stay together and honor each other. That's what I think most men want. I think there's a lot of dysfunction in this day and age, and so you get a lot of pickup artists and guys that just want to Genghis Khan their way through life, but I don't think that's the character of men. And as he has to have a wife of some sort, he prefers to keep the one he already possesses. This is easy to prove. Given the choice, a man will always choose a younger woman. Elizabeth Taylor, I mean, if he's like, okay, I want to start a family, yeah, he's going to choose a younger woman. But it's way more than just aesthetics. You guys are looking for purity and fertility and someone that's not masculine. And I like Esther. We almost said her name. She's the one who will not be named. Whew, that was close. Ms. Villar. Well, she's not the most feminine. That's okay. But she's not. I wonder how she would define femininity. Okay, Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were passé the moment their wrinkles could no longer be hidden by layers of makeup, and therefore, when a man went to the cinema, he simply bought a ticket to see a younger star. That doesn't mean he wants her for a wife, though. That's what we've learned. I mean, in the beginning, yes, but as your life goes together, he's valuing her for her. Come on, Esther, give men a little more credit. Anyone who can afford it is not restricted in this respect to buying seats at cinemas. Financiers and show business tycoons make a habit of turning in their used wives for newer models. That's true. But that's a degenerate, circle of people. And since alimony is fairly good, not even the old wife seems to mind. In fact, she is probably very glad to have made such a good deal. It's a very materialistic look at things. I mean, yeah, she does think, yay, score, but then she's alone. And they're not happy when they're alone, right? Turns out that even with the family court, as much as it favors the females, they're not just happy to take that money and leave, as Ms. Villar says. I've taken the sound off this one as well, but you can read what it says. My name is Donna, and you have no idea how it hurts to be divorced at almost 40. No family, just to live day after day at work and be an object of ridicule, that I will age alone and all I can dream about is to find love. And they do struggle with that because they will, actually it's the women that trade up. It's not the men. This is assuming that men are hypergamous in that way. And I don't think that's real. Maybe they would be if they could be and go to the younger model, but maybe I'm giving men too much credit. You guys tell me. I know you'd be honest about it, because I just don't know if Ms. Vilar is right on this. But she does continue, so we are learning as we go. Oh. But this is a luxury for the rich alone. If a poor man decides, in a moment of euphoric irresponsibility, to change over to a younger woman, he can be sure of losing her pretty. He can be sure of losing her pretty quickly. His money will never stretch to 2 wives and 2 sets of children, right? Because he's paying alimony and child support to one. So what is he going to offer the next one? That makes sense. For the second wife will certainly insist on having offspring as well. And if an attractive young woman has a choice, she will choose a young man every time, providing he is financially secure, which is rare, but these women don't seem to understand that. This is not, of course, for aesthetic reasons. With any luck, he will be able to provide for her longer. Oh, is that what it is? On the other hand, if offered a rich man of 40, a woman will certainly prefer him to a poor young man of 20. Women certainly know what they want from men and know exactly on which side their bread is buttered. She's not wrong there. It is lucky for the adult woman that men do not consider themselves beautiful, since most men are beautiful. They're smooth. Well, hello. Here we go. Their smooth bodies, kept trim by hard work, their strong shoulders, their muscular legs, their melodic voices, their warm human laughter, the intelligent expression of their faces, and their calibrated, meaningful movements overshadow those of women completely. We are not used to hearing men described this way. But I think of the statue of David, right? Something like that. And I think we did used to celebrate men's aesthetic a lot more than we do now. That's very interesting. Whew. Okay. Their meaningful movements overshadow those of women completely, even in a purely animal sense. And since they, unlike women, work and their bodies are therefore preserved for continued future use, men also retain their beauty longer. Men do age much better than women. That is so true. Boy, that's true. Boy, it makes women mad. As a result of their inertia, women's bodies rapidly decay. After the age of 50, they are nothing but indifferent heaps of human cells. Oh my gosh, tell us how you really feel, Esther. Wow. One has only to observe a 50-year-old housewife on the street and compare her appearance with that of a man of the same age. Yeah, it's because of the different things that we value in men and women, right? Okay. Men are not aware of their own beauty, and no one mentions it. Therefore, there is so much rubbish written and talked about the charm of women. Even children and animals are considered graceful, adorable, and delightful, but never a man. She's right. She's right. Men are at best praised for their steadfastness, courage, reliability, all qualities useful to women. having nothing to do with physical appearance. I have said time and time again, women talking about the Chad or this way, they like that he's tall. They like that he can pick things up that are heavy. But like as far as the face, women do not see handsome. Let's talk about Luigi Mangione, right? Okay. The guy who ended the CEO in broad daylight in New York. And all the women are falling all over him, right? Oh my God, he's so handsome. No, he's not. If you just objectively look at his face, no, he's not. They're attracted to something else. I think what they're attracted to is that he ended the bad guy. Now, I don't subscribe to that, but I think that's what it is. It's like, oh, he's Batman or something, right? He's not good looking. His face is not good looking, but women aren't. That's not what women are attracted to. It's really not. They're attracted to utility. And they'll call that handsome. But it's not. They really don't appreciate beauty of a man in the way that they appreciate it truly in an aesthetic way. I'm calling out the BS right now. It's been bugging me. Glad we had a chance to talk about it. Okay. Men are at best praised for their steadfastness. Yes, we read that. It would be difficult to find a description of the male body except in a medical textbook. And outside of these, who would ever dream of going into great detail about the exact shape of his lips? The precise shade of his eyes in a special kind of light. And as for the delicacy of his Miss Velar, the delicacy of the protrusions on his pectoral area, or the pleasing shape of his, oh my God, what are we reading right now? I can't say this. Pleasing shape of his nether regions, in the front, that houses his seed and his, okay, where the seed is. Yep. I thought those were the same thing. Okay. You guys, I did not think I would be reading these things, but you know what I'm saying. Okay. Just imagine a man's amazement and amusement if they were the subject of hymns and praise. Yeah. Men are not used to having their bodies discussed. Grown women, as a rule, ugly creatures, have time and opportunity to admire men, but rarely see them. It is not that a woman is mean or envious. It is that she thinks of him as a machine. A machine for the production of material goods. And who regards a machine as an object of beauty. It is something that functions, and men judge themselves similarly. Yeah, I think you do. They are far too worn out by their role as providers and by the eternal rat race to think of being objective about their own looks. All this is a pointless discussion anyway, for basically men are not interested in the possibility of being beautiful. What point would that give to their labors? Women must be the ones who are beautiful, helpless, adorable. They must be, in fact, lacking a more precise definition of the fair sex. You can't read this and not have your mind opened. She just saw through the programming, and it was 1971. And I'm sitting here in 2024 having my mind blown with how she's describing how we look at things and how we could be and possibly should be looking at things. I can't unread that. I can't unknow what I just read. I almost feel guilty for not seeing men as beautiful aesthetically. Do you know what I mean? I too have been programmed to see you guys as utilities, to value things in you that basically highlight your utility rather than just how God made you. And that you are made in his image. And I am going to start doing that from this day forward. Wow, you guys. I'm glad we're reading this together. I sure am. So, my brain is just like processing all of that. Thank you for joining me on this show today. I think we're going to have interesting discussion about it in the chat. And I'm so interested to see what you guys have to say about all of this and what you think about how I'm, reading it, how I'm reacting to it and taking it in. If you see anything that you think I'm wrong about or that I've missed, please tell me, because I don't want to miss anything. I want to be wiser about this, and I want to be a better person. I don't want to be one of these. I don't want to be a witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. Sorry, Princess Bride. You guys, make sure you feed your souls today. Nobody else is going to do it. And you guys know that. And you must feed it. And protect your peace. I love you guys. And I'll see you on the next one.